Welcome! We are about to dive into a scientific detective story, one that chases a question that's, puzzled humanity for basically ever. But what's so exciting is that recent breakthroughs, clues from just the last couple of years, are pointing to an answer so radical, it could completely rewrite how we understand the human brain.
So let's just start with the biggest question of all. You. That voice inside your head, your experience of the color red, the feeling of warmth from the sun. Where does that actually come from? Philosophers call this the hard problem of consciousness. And honestly, for centuries, we've had no good answer. But that might, just might, be about to change.
For the longest time, science has kind of been split into two camps on this. On one side, you've got the classical brain. Think of it as this beautiful, incredibly complicated biological computer. Your thoughts? They're just electrical signals zapping between neurons. It's complex, sure, but at the end of the day, it's understandable. But then, there's the other side. A much more wild idea, the quantum brain. This theory suggests that to create the richness of our inner world, the brain might be tapping into the bizarre, frankly weird rules of quantum mechanics.
Now, for decades, this whole idea of a quantum brain was basically laughed out of the room. It was seen as pure science fiction. And to be fair, for one very, very good reason. It faced a seemingly impossible problem, a hurdle so big it just stopped most research dead in its tracks. And that hurdle is a little thing called decoherence. See, quantum states are incredibly fragile. I mean, unbelievably fragile. The slightest little disturbance can just shatter them. And the brain, well, it's about the worst possible environment you can imagine for them. It's warm, it's wet, it's noisy. So the argument was simple. Any quantum state would collapse in femtoseconds. That's a millionth of a billionth of a second. Just poof, gone. To put that in perspective, it's like comparing a single second to over 30 million years. Meanwhile, brain processes happen in milliseconds. The timescales were just totally off. The quantum world was simply too fast to matter. Until now. Okay, so our first clue comes from a place you probably wouldn't expect, the operating room. For over 100 years, we've been using anesthetic gases to switch consciousness off and on again. But here's the crazy part. We've never really understood how they work. I mean, how can a simple inert gas have such a profound switch-like effect?
The old-school theory, the Meyer-Overton correlation, was pretty straightforward. It said these gases just dissolve into the fatty outer membranes of our neurons, kind of like how soap dissolves grease. The idea was that this would mess with the flow of ions and basically turn the neuron off. A simple, plausible, mechanical explanation. But brand new evidence, synthesized in 2025, points to a completely different target. Not the outer membrane, but the actual skeleton of the neuron itself. These tiny cylindrical structures called microtubules. And the theory now is that these microtubules are the quantum processors of the cell, and anesthetics don't shut them down chemically, they shut them down physically at the quantum level. So let's walk through how this works. First, deep inside these microtubules, there are these delicate quantum vibrations all happening in these little protected pockets. Then step 2, the anesthetic molecules drift into these pockets. They don't react with anything, they just get in the way, like throwing a wrench in the gears. And the result? Decoherence. The vibrations get detuned, the quantum state collapses, and it happens before a conscious moment can even finish forming. So in this model, consciousness gets switched off because the quantum computation can't complete. It's that simple.
And this all brings us right back to that timing problem, right? The old estimates, like this one from physicist Max Tegmark back in 2000, said a quantum state in the brain could only survive for about 1/10 of a picosecond. That is just way too fast to have any kind of effect on how neurons fire. So case closed, right? The quantum brain is a bust. Well now, this is where the story completely flips on its head. New models from 2025 treat the microtubule like a high-quality quantum resonator, a QED cavity, which actually shields and protects the quantum state. And this has totally revised that number. The new estimate is a microsecond. That's 1,000,000 times longer. And a microsecond, that is absolutely 100% long enough to influence the biology of a neuron. All of a sudden, the quantum brain is not science fiction anymore. It's a real possibility.
All right, our second clue comes from psychiatry, and another medical mystery we've lived with for a long time, lithium. We've used this really simple element to treat bipolar disorder for decades, and it works remarkably well. But, just like with anesthetics, how it actually works has been a complete puzzle.
So, to understand this, we need to introduce a new key player, the Posner molecule. It's this tiny spherical cluster of calcium and phosphate. A physicist named Matthew Fisher proposed that these little things could act as neural qubits. You see, the phosphorus atom at its core has a quantum property called spin. The unique cage-like structure of the Posner molecule protects that spin, allowing it to stay in a quantum state for seconds, maybe even hours. You can think of them as the brain's quantum hard drive.
And this is where it gets absolutely incredible. A landmark study in 2025 basically delivered the smoking gun. Scientists tested two different isotopes of lithium, lithium-6 and lithium-7. Now, chemically, they are identical. They should have the exact same effect according to classical chemistry. But they don't, not even close. Lithium-7 had a much bigger effect on forming these Posner molecules, and the only difference between them, a purely quantum property called nuclear spin. This result is just impossible to explain with classical physics. It strongly suggests that our consciousness relies on a whole network of these quantum Posner molecules, and that leads to a pretty radical hypothesis. Maybe something like bipolar disorder is actually a quantum pathology, a state where the brain's quantum network gets overclocked or hypercoherent, and maybe lithium works by acting as a quantum dampener, just cooling things down to a stable level.
So, we've got clues from anesthesia, we've got clues from pharmacology, but the ultimate proof, the holy grail, would be to find direct evidence of quantum mechanics at work inside a living, breathing human brain. And back in 2022, a team of researchers claimed to have done exactly that, and it sparked a huge scientific debate.
Their experiment was really, really clever. They knew they couldn't just measure a quantum effect directly, so they looked for its shadow, using something called an entanglement witness. The logic is actually pretty simple. If there's something in the brain, let's call it M, that can cause two other things to become quantumly entangled, then that M must be a quantum process itself. There's no classical way to do it.
So using a special kind of MRI, they detected this totally unexpected quantum signal. The signal was actually synchronized with the patient's heartbeat. But here's the kicker. The signal vanished, completely disappeared, when the person was asleep or under anesthesia. This was a quantum signal that seemed to track perfectly with consciousness.
Now look, in science, extraordinary claims demand extraordinary evidence, and this finding was immediately challenged. Critics, like the NMR expert W.S. Warren, argued that the signal was probably just a classical artifact, nothing more than the physical pulsing of blood messing with the machine. But the original team fired back. Their rebuttal in 2025 showed that the signal didn't behave like a classical artifact at all. It was still there even when they mathematically removed the source of that classical pulsing. And that kind of scientific back and forth, that is exactly how progress is made. It's messy, but it pushes us closer to the truth.
Okay, so we have three major lines of evidence: anesthetics, lithium, and this potential entangled signal in the brain. How in the world do we put all these clues together? Well, the picture that's emerging isn't one simple mechanism. It's a beautiful, multi-layered quantum hierarchy.
This table really brings it all together. At the bottom, you have this idea of a global field of entangled water, which could be what gives us that unified feeling of being a single self. A layer up, you've got the Posner molecules acting as long-term memory. That's our lithium clue. Then the microtubules are the high-speed processors. That's our anesthetics clue. And finally, there's an interface layer that translates all this quantum stuff into the classical neuron firings that we can actually measure. It's a complete integrated system from top to bottom.
What's so powerful about this is that it offers a solution to another classic mystery in neuroscience called the binding problem, which is, how do all the separate bits of information your brain is processing, sight, sound, touch, everything, combine into one single, seamless, unified experience of reality? This model says it's not an illusion. The unity you feel is a real physical unity, created by a brain-wide field of quantum entanglement. Which, of course, leaves us with one final absolutely profound thought. If consciousness really does arise from these deep, fundamental quantum processes, is the brain actually creating it from scratch? Or is it acting more like an antenna, an exquisitely tuned biological instrument that's orchestrating and receiving a fundamental property of the universe itself? The clues are just now starting to come in, but they're pointing to a reality that is far, far stranger and more connected than any of us ever imagined.